Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the House of Kayfabe. I'm Brian Resner, sitting here on my deck talking to Stephen Barker about Crown Jewel. We used to call this pay-per-view WWE Blood Money, but I guess it actually earned a pay-per-view name this time. We slowly are getting to an actual pay-per-view and not just a really big, expensive house show. So this time we actually seen a pay-per-view, and this is your first time ever watching a Saudi Arabia event. Stephen Barker, why the change of heart?
Because LA Knight was in the main event, and I wanted to see Roman Reigns make him look like the $1 million megastar that he is. I have every reason morally to not support this Saudi Arabia WWE marriage for a plethora of reasons. I mean, we could talk about genocide of the Houthis in Yemen. We could talk about they jail homosexuals. The problem that I have with Saudi Arabia is all of the things that if you are a member of the woke United Methodist Church, everything that you say America is, Saudi Arabia actually is. It's a patriarchy. They just allowed women to drive like a few years ago. Women still can't do anything without express consent from their man, which maybe they could be right. They might have something there. They throw gay people off of fucking roofs. It's one of the worst regimes in all of America. It's a complete, and I'm not talking about the people of Saudi Arabia. I'm sure they're good, fine people, but who runs them is a bloodthirsty, oil-soaked, authoritarian nightmare. And I would never watch a Saudi Arabian show, but dude, that's how much I love LA Knight. I want to see LA Knight as a main eventer.
I guess my response to that would be that I have been friends with some pretty shady, questionable people because they were wrestling fans. So I will not make an exception here to be supportive of a wrestling pay-per-view. And
watching a Saudi Arabian pay-per-view is kind of like playing R. Kelly at a party. That's what I think. That's how I feel about it. You know what I mean? Like R. Kelly may have some bangers, but one of the all-time great shitheels of our culture,
of R&B music,
right?
Interesting.
But yeah, they got me.
So, were you excited to see that we were starting out with the World Heavyweight Championship match? Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre curtain jerked this whole event.
Here is something that I don't think is being talked about enough on the online wrestling community. It's Roman's era, right? We're going to look back at this in 10 years, and this is going to be Roman's era. And Seth, I think, is getting lost. How many times does Seth Rollins have to have the best match on the card? He's our Shawn Michaels. In my opinion, it was by far the best match, and it wasn't even close. And there were some pretty good ones on this pay-per-view or special live event. Brian, are we appreciating the greatness of Seth Rollins right now like we should be? I know he's the world champion.
I know I am appreciating it, but I don't know if the world is appreciating it. I know a lot of people refer to Seth Rollins as a second-rate champion because he is second to Roman Reigns. But one, I will say his belt looks a lot better, and that belt's really grown on me. I really, I didn't really want it. I didn't really like it, but now it's grown on me, and I do like it better than Roman Reigns' title, even with the gold background. However, this match, I was a fan of watching this match. Just like you said, Seth Rollins is always trying to put together the best match on the card, and I think he came pretty close on this one.
We are not appreciating him enough. And dude, Drew McIntyre for that matter as well. This was one of the best matches I've seen in the last couple of months. I love everything that Seth Rollins is doing. I know his gimmick is you get disparate opinions out there on his gimmick. Let's just say that. I love it. I think it's bigger than life. It's obviously Macho Man inspired, but that's what wrestling should be. It's bigger than life. And this is Tyler Black. You know, I remember watching him in Ring of Honor, and
Yeah.
his work rate was higher then, but I love him more now. Everything about Seth Rollins is fucking great. He's an
You know,
all-time great.
the first time I saw Seth Rollins was in Wrestling Society X on
Oh,
MTV. You remember
wow.
that?
Yeah, it's Matt
Yeah.
Classic. Matt Classic was on there. That was Colt Cabana's alter ego.
There you go. So yeah, but it was a good way to start. I mean, I'm never a fan of starting with a World Heavyweight Championship. I think that it kind of diminishes the championship and the position of the champion. However, this was a great way to start because you really bring the energy up and you kind of set the bar for the night. Not sure if all the matches were prepared to race to that bar.
That was really the problem with this pay-per-view is you started out with the best match, and we've seen curtain jerkers be great matches like a Jericho and Shawn Michaels actually comes to mind. I'm pretty sure their match was like first. And of course they stole the show because that's what both of those guys do. And I know why they have to separate both championships, right? And Roman Reigns is obviously going to be the main event in any pay-per-view he's on, special live event. I understand what you're saying about with the championship, but I think even more the problem was everyone had to follow this match, and the crowd was more hotter than this match than any other.
They did come in very hot, and that felt like an ECW crowd. They were so in tune with every single movement in the ring. They were responding to everything, and it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I mean, 5 stars if you ask me. Seth, we do not appreciate Seth Rollins enough, and we are going to around here on House of Kayfabe.
Well, and something I'd like to say real quick about that crowd before we move on to the next match is, something that we have been seeing lately that we don't normally see are these wrestling starved countries actually responding to wrestling. And it's not just Saudi Arabia, but we saw it with AEW's event in Europe, and it's pretty awesome to see these folks get their first taste of the big time. You know what I mean? Even when we refer to AEW, it's not necessarily the big time because, of course, WWE is the big time, but it's big time to them. And these countries really appreciate what they don't get all the time. It's another appreciation factor for U.S. wrestling fans. Not only are they not appreciating Seth Rollins, but they're not truly appreciating the fact that they have live events to go to.
I think that regularly foreign crowds outclass Americans. I think that maybe we're jaded, and that maybe be the problem. Like the only people who are wrestling fans now, the casual is so rare. We talk about the casual fan. Like, Brian, when you see a wrestling fan, when you talk to another Mark, they're in it 1000%. They don't just watch it every once in a while. They know everything that's going on. And unless it's a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam or an All In, it seems that sometimes American crowds are just kind of, okay, we're watching a match because this is what we do. They come to my hometown. I come every time they've come. This is my 17th show. You know what I mean? Like the Saudi, but here's the thing, that crowd went away later on, and I'll give a theory as to why. But all in, I've only seen bits and pieces, but that crowd was lunatic. It's a lunatic asylum. It was wonderful, and it always makes the on the television program more enjoyable when you see the crowd get into it. That's Absolutely. One of the reasons. I think one of the reasons that we romanticize the Monday Night Wars is because those crowds were fucking madhouses. You were there, I'm sure. You probably went. I think I went to a house show or two during the Monday Night Wars. Those crowds go back and they're fucking crazy.
They absolutely were, and it kind of come from the ECW culture of crowd. That was kind of the measuring stick when it came to crowd involvement. Now, the next match we go into, we're talking about the 5-way.
Oh boy, are we
the female 5-way, right? We got Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, we got Rhea Ripley. We got Nia Jax, Raquel Rodriguez, Shayna Baszler, and Zoe Stark, all dressed head to toe with no extra skin showing. I think these girls should call Steve New and sue for like workplace, like some sort of like workplace harassment. None of the men came out there half naked as they always do, but because, you know, the cultural values of Saudi Arabia, they just prefer to just not see it, I guess. So, Annie, I can't get behind watching female wrestlers who I know do not want to wear that shit out in, you know, under the lights in an athletic event, sweating your balls off in a fucking, you know, head to toe cat suit. I can't get behind any of this.
Well, one thing that I noticed right out the gate is how small Shayna Baszler looked in that ring with those four women. She was so tiny in comparison. It really puts into perspective how large the rest of these ladies are. I was watching this event with one of my friends, and he is probably less of a fan of Nia Jax than Steve New is.
Woo, wow.
And I just can't really get behind that because I feel like Nia Jax can be a great tribute to Yokozuna if written in right. And
she's already doing the Yoko drop.
She's doing the bonsai drop. She's putting some of Vader's moveset to work, and I always wanted her to do this, so I can't not be a fan of something that I've always wanted to happen and now is starting to happen. But this was really just a showcase to get Rhea Ripley over.
Obviously. I think Raquel Rodriguez is a star. Shayna Baszler, I don't know. I don't know. And Zoe Starks, I don't know. If Adam Harris was here, he could probably give us a few reasons why she's a viable talent. The thing about Nia Jax is, and I do not understand it, it seems so fucking easy. She smashes everyone. The only time she loses is when four girls gang up on her. Look at her. She's goddamn monster. She is the new Awesome Kong who can't work. Thing about Awesome Kong is she's great. She's an all-time great. She's top 10 talent. If Derek Jones was here, he would agree with me. Nia Jax, they brought her back. Just let her run through everyone. And she sort of has. She's bonsai dropped everyone, but she's still not getting any big wins.
I'm still waiting on the match where Nia Jax bonsai drops one member of the female roster and makes foam come out of her mouth like Hacksaw in the early 90s with Yokozuna. That would really just solidify the whole thing for me. I wish that they would throw that homage out there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a match. Rhea Ripley is going to be the champ until WrestleMania for sure.
And honestly, I don't know of any way else it can go. Rhea Ripley is at the top of her game right now. She should be the champ.
She's top 5 performers, period, regardless of gender.
Somebody's going to beat her. It needs to be Jade Cargill.
Dude, we have talked on House of Kayfabe, and we have not got to do a video about her moving to the WWE. No one in the 7 or 8 people who are on this channel agree on everything. The only fucking thing that we've all agreed on is that if Jade Cargill can learn how to do this stuff and be a wrestler, she's going to be on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling. And so I think the way that they're slow rolling her out, I think that she's learning, she's in the performance center every day, learning how to actually wrestle, because in AEW, she did not know. She was dangerous. She was awkward, bad timing, everything. It's always funny when you see good wrestling so much, you see so many good Seth Rollins matches, that how bad wrestling looks when it's done badly. And boy, Jade Cargill made wrestling look bad in AEW. But we've got some great, we now know that they make great wrestlers out of the performance center. Jade Cargill she doesn't need the rocket ship. You just got to put her in the ring and her be competent, and the crowd's going to fucking go crazy.
I can't wait to see Charlotte and Jade. And I know that's the obvious. It's the obvious that that's where we're going, but I'm just so excited about it. And what really clicks with me is that I'm excited about a future women's match, which is it's big growth for me, honestly. Very, very, very big growth for me as a person.
No, I am going to back you up on that. Here's the thing. You like good wrestling. You've been watching this shit for fucking 30 years.
I
And
have.
you lived through, and I don't know if you watched a lot of knockouts in TNA, but TNA knockout division was the beginning of being able to take female wrestlers seriously. You know, we talked about the Monday Night Wars before, and then we didn't. And then, of course, the Diva era. How could you like any of that? It's not that
Right.
you are evolving, I think. I think it's them becoming good wrestlers, and you're someone who wants to see good wrestling.
It's women's wrestling evolving.
Yeah, it's not you, it's them.
Absolutely. So
I know Brian Resner would fucking watch, a fucking cartoon wrestling match if it was done well. You know what I'm saying?
if it was good, it could be the greatest cartoon ever.
Exactly. So it's them. They, how can you, someone who loves ECW and fucking Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, how could you watch the Bella Twins wrestle Kelly Kelly and get fired up?
You can't do it. You absolutely cannot do it. And this match didn't do much for me. It was kind of just like a time suck. And then we go to the next match. Go ahead and let me know what was the next match.
Well,
remind me.
I will remind you. Solo Sikoa gets the big rub from. What do you think about them calling John Cena the greatest of all time? I'm not a big fan of it. And I love John Cena. I'm not one of those. I'm not an IWC simp shithead. John Cena is cool with me. I love John Cena. And I used to hate him too. I used to boo. I used to be sick of him. I rooted against him during the summer of punk. John Cena has grandfathered into me as one of the all-time greats, but greatest of all time. What do you think, Brian Reisner?
I'm not with the greatest of all time, but I'm not necessarily denying his position. I will say that John Cena is definitely in the conversation of the greatest of all time. Mm-hmm. Now, will the end of that conversation lead to You Can't See Me? I don't think so. However, I do know that he is in the conversation. This match is funny because when I was putting my notes together, that one of the notes that I put on on this match was, wow, I really thought Solo was going to get the victory here at some point. And then I had to go mark that out after he did get the victory. I never thought that he would actually beat John Cena. It never occurred to me that John was going to do the job here to put over Solo Sikoa. It's crazy to me that happened, honestly. But it really goes to show that they are trying their best to build Solo.
They are. And I got to say, the night before when John Cena called him a cut rate Taz, dude, I popped so hard because I'm a huge Taz mark. I fucking love Taz. I love him when he's suplexing motherfuckers. I love him when he's talking about wrestling behind the announce desk. So I like that. Because I'm a culture nerd all around, I know that John Cena has some filming to do on the Peacemaker TV series, which is excellent. When that comes back out, we're going to review it because it's wrestling content. Right?
I cannot wait. Yeah,
it's
of course
so
it is.
Good. It's so good.
I've got a Peacemaker in my pop collection, and all my pop collection is wrestling. And there's Black Adam and Peacemaker right there. I love them because
it's
great to be there.
I knew that he was going to go out. I figured he was going to lose the match because I know that John has shit to do. What's great about him, and The Rock did it too when The Rock was making that transition into Hollywood. Of course, Roman Reigns is next. He still came back every once in a while for a little run. You know what I mean? And like gave back to the business. And this is just John Cena doing what he did for Austin Theory. He's doing everything right. You know, he was trained at OVW by the God Emperor Jim Cornette and, Dr. Tom Pritchard and Rip Rogers. So he was taught the right way. When you're going to go out, you give people the rub, and they got to get Solo Sikoa over somehow. And I think he's stalled out as a beast enforcer. And I think it's because we both know Jacob Fatu exists, and he's a much better version of it.
Well, and it's hard to be a beast when you're small, like Solo. Solo is not a beast. He may be acting like a beast. You're not Umaga. And you won't ever be Umaga. The thumb will not make you Umaga. The weight behind the thumb. The Samoan Spike needed that weight behind it, and we're not. we're not there with Solo, and but I'm not saying that we won't get there because obviously he's got the rocket strapped to him, at least partially. So we'll after a big win over John Cena, we could see some great things. Now, the feeling of this match after Solo defeats John Cena, it really felt as if we were seeing John Cena say goodbye forever.
Nah,
But
he'll
that
come
was
back.
never, yeah, it was never said. But didn't it feel like a retirement type situation?
It felt like when he was setting on the runway at WrestleMania, getting beat by The Rock. Was that shot, that iconic shot? Now, we've had a few of those. John Cena, we're seeing the end of it. I think he'll make a big deal about it. I think it'll be made a big deal, like maybe even like a last run or oh shit, what was that run of matches that Jim Cornette did with Bill Watts, the last Stampede. Um, yeah, they'll make a big deal about it. John Cena eventually is going to be full-time Hollywood because he's in a lot of things now. And in a universally loved in a landscape of a lot of garbage comic book content, Peacemaker's probably one of the best things that DC has ever done. And he's the
Ever.
star. Ever. I love that movie, so I'm so glad you like it. It's so fucking
Huge
good.
fan.
But yeah, John
Huge fan.
Cena doing what's right. You're giving the rub to Austin Theory. Now, Austin Theory can say he beat John Cena. He gave Solo Sikoa, who they obviously are investing a lot of time and effort in. Now he can say that not only did he beat John Cena, but he took his voice, as Paul Heyman just expertly laid out during that promo 2 Fridays ago. This just in, Paul Heyman is an all-time great. If this works for Solo, I don't know. It's worked for Austin Theory, obviously.
Yeah, it definitely has. So we come out of this kind of with a shocker, and then we go into our next match.
And another shocker, and this is something that you actually on another video. Also, by the way, if you all like what we're doing, please give us a like, comment, and share, and go check out some of our evergreen content in the back catalog. And in one of those videos, you said Logan Paul cannot be the world champion, but he can damn sure be the U.S. champion or the Intercontinental Championship. You also said,
Absolutely.
and Logan Paul, probably maybe should get Wrestler of the Year for saving Rey Mysterio's life.
When he reacted to that so quickly, it was just another one of those moments where you're like, Logan Paul was made for this.
Yes.
This is where Logan Paul was supposed to be. He just didn't land here until he'd made his own waves in his own world. But when it comes down to it, Ray would have left Saudi Arabia on a stretcher if Logan Paul wouldn't have made an adjustment at the perfect time to save him from that fall. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back, rewatch the match. You will see it. The moonsault happens. Ray is headed to land right on his head and neck. Logan Paul saves him out of nowhere. Like, that's something that you would expect Bret Hart to do. That's something that's one of the veterans would be able to pull off in the moment to save someone. And we're talking about Logan Paul. We're talking about a YouTuber that was able to pull a move out like that to save someone like a veteran. It was pretty impressive.
I think in like his 8th or 9th match, because he doesn't do house shows. He's not getting reps in, in front of a crowd. It is sad in 2 ways. First, Logan Paul has a choppy lifestyle. This guy's done a pretty heinous crypto scam, but I repeat myself. He's had lots and lots of controversies in his life. He's easy to hate, but to just see that it's a testament to how fucking great he is. That grizzled vets like us love him so much. If it wasn't for, Prime and boxing and Instagram and influencing, this guy could be a full-timer and a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
insane.
Now, the question I have is, did Santos Escobar turn on Rey Mysterio? No one really said it, but you could clearly see that he set those brass knuckles right there where Logan Paul could get them. and then he chased the other guy who was nameless. They really shouldn't have had a nameless guy
Now
getting
he's
involved.
nameless to people, to Gen Xers like us. I guarantee you that every kid between 12 and 25 knew exactly who that guy was. Because I
Well,
remember
Michael
when
Cole should have told us who he was.
I get you. I get you.
There should have been named to that guy, or they should have put someone there with name recognition with the wrestling fans, so that they could have been a part of the story. But Santos Escobar, I I really believe that that's going to go into some type of, hey, why did you do this? And I hope we see that. I hope that turns into Ray versus Santos, not only because I want to see Ray get out of any title picture and just be involved with someone for fun, but I also would like to see Santos Escobar get away from the LWO thing and start being the superstar he was headed to be before they decided that he needed Rey Mysterio to get him over.
Well, the LWO t-shirts for a little while now has been a top seller, right? So
Absolutely. And I'm not saying to get rid of the LWO. Santos just doesn't need to be involved.
he hasn't reached as the greatness that he was as King Cuerno in the London in the Lucha Underground. And I'm not being facetious. I thought King Cuerno, his masked persona in Lucha Underground, was fucking great. And we haven't seen that yet out of him, because
Absolutely.
the LWO a little bit is turning into the NWO at the end, where it's like, okay, here's your Hispanic and you should be in this match. Carlito. Why fucking Carlito in LWO? He's a fucking established guy.
Yeah. I'm not, they're just like, hey, throw anybody in here if they halfway make sense.
Yeah, they have a tan and can salsa dance. Put him in LWO.
You
makes sense.
think he'll sell some more LWO shirts? Put him in there.
That's it.
But he's from Asia. Well, who cares? Just throw him in there.
Yeah.
That's
Logan Paul, one of the things Logan Paul did great in this, and you could tell he's a longtime mark. We know that him and his brother grew up watching wrestling in Cleveland. He did like 3 callbacks. We got a Ultimate Warrior power slam and the big splash. We got a lion salt. He did Bruno Sammartino's backbreaker. Like, he brought back a finish from 1967. And man, that moonsault slam that he did on Ray, dude, who would you trust? I mean, that's just how great he is. Who would fucking trust someone in their 8th match to do something like that?
Yeah, I mean, he is an anomaly. There's no doubt about it. Logan Paul's an anomaly, and anyone who's acting like he doesn't belong here anymore is delusional.
Yeah,
like you're letting
hating.
your hate for this guy make you delusional to the fact that he is not only awesome, but he's awesome for wrestling. So I'm totally all for him carrying this belt. And where are we going to see this belt now?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. It's going to be insane. So I was a big fan of this match. Then we go into the next match. What do we have on our plate now?
Well, if you are a longtime viewer of the House of Kayfabe, that you know that I, the other Steve, have a rule called the Bren rule. The Bren rule is, if a female wrestler is not larger than my 12-year-old daughter, I don't pay attention. So we have Io Sky and defeated Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair deserves better. Io Sky is listed at 5'1" or 5'1", which means she's probably 4'11". I cannot take this girl seriously. She's for me, she is an albatross around Bailey's neck. Her and the other girl who definitely needs a sandwich. I don't like Io Sky as the champ. I don't care how many aerial assaults she does. It's like watching Charlize Theron in an action movie with a bunch of accommodating stuntmen. She's 5 foot whatever. She's not a threat. Bianca Belair is a fucking champion, a fucking stud athlete, and she has to bounce around for someone who's not bigger than my 12-year-old child. So if you want to talk about this match, you go ahead.
Well, I will tell you, I don't agree with you completely about Io Sky. I think she is very talented. However, I do agree with you that she should not be the champion. Bailey should be the champion. However, I'm not sure why they didn't put Bailey in that position. But the one thing that came out of this match that I will talk about is the return of Kerry Sane. Having
Oh.
Kerry Sane come back, I was a fan of that. I was always a fan of Kerry Sane. I do wish she was in her pirate gear, but either way, I was glad she came back, and I'm interested to see what's going to happen there because Kerry Sane and Io Sky, they were tight, and Bailey actually kind of ended Kerry Sane's run in the WWE. So where are we going from there? There's a little bit of interest there, but I'm with you. We can move to the next match. So the next
Let's
match, I believe, is Damian Priest and Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, boy. And by the way, I didn't hit on it. Man, Saudi Arabia, of course, that crowd is the only wrestling crowd that has fewer females in it than AEW, were on their hands for both female matches. And this is a cultural thing. They don't think women should be performing. They're not allowed to. I think maybe they do have like female, pop stars and such, but it is frowned upon for women to be in any elevated role in society. All you people who think America is patriarchal, you need to fucking look up Saudi Arabia. Those crowds gave two shits about these women. They were
I don't
dead.
understand why you would even bring women to this event. Like,
if
it
I
just
were a
doesn't
woman, I
make
wouldn't
sense.
go. If I were
I
Paul
wouldn't.
Heyman and a woman, I would not fucking go.
I would. I wouldn't go regardless because I don't
Period.
want to be in Saudi Arabia.
No.
However, I don't even think they should be trying to take women. But
Mm-mm.
nevertheless, we go into Damian Priest and Cody. I really didn't think that this made much sense. This should have been a tag team title match, I believe. But of course, if Cody Rhodes is in the ring, it's going to be a top tier match, and that's pretty much what we got. Honestly, I would be willing to say this is the best Damian Priest match I've ever seen.
I've seen some really good punishment Martinez matches. I'm high on him. Cody Rhodes obviously is biding his time and keeping just hot enough to be able to rocket ship into WrestleMania 40. We all know this is where this is going. I mentioned that the crowd were so dead for female matches because this crowd was cold as shit during the beginning of this, and they got them back maybe on their first false finish towards the end. Those female matches were an albatross for a few matches after it. It took Cody and I will always call him Punishment Martinez, Damian, a few minutes or more to get the crowd back into it, but they did. Cody Rhodes is great. We know where we're going. It should have been you're right. It should have been a tag team match. We forgot to mention that Damian Priest also tried to cash in his Money in the Bank, and Sami Zayn shows up out of the crowd, and there was a really great moment. And I know, when you talk about Saudi Arabia and you talk about Sami Zayn, there is socio-political and religious overtones about it. But there was this one moment, and like, if you don't know what's going on, Sami Zayn for years never went to Saudi Arabia because their very strict religion does not like people who are backslid. If you're a Baptist, and Sami Zayn is a non-religion, as a non-practicing former member of Islam, and they don't take kindly to those people. And for a while, he wasn't allowed in the country. So that's another reason why I never watched Saudi Arabia. But there was this one moment where Sami Zayn, made the save, and he got surrounded by a bunch of kids. And I was like, oh, wow, that's their guy. He's, people don't realize Sami Zayn is Syrian. He's Arabic, right? He's not Persian. He's not white either. And these kids was like, he is kind of their John Cena. I really like that moment a lot.
Absolutely.
But Cody Rhodes, Damian Priest, I mean, it's always going to be a great match, obviously, because Cody Rhodes is a genius.
Yeah, and of course, it was a great match. I feel like Cody Rhodes, could the age old saying could wrestle a broom, and it would be a 5-star match, and you would honestly think the broom was going to win at multiple times during the match, and that's exactly what we've seen here. I've never been a huge Damian Priest fan, but this was a great match.
I love him.
For him.
I love that he has finishing maneuver named after a Slayer song. That's all. If you want me to like you, call your shit south of heaven. And if he could come into Slayer like Edge did at WrestleMania, that would be even better. It's Cody Rhodes just old faithful. He's old faithful. He's going to, old faithful, shoots every 7 minutes or whatever. Cody Rhodes going to show up and have a great match. I can't tell you the last time he had a bad match. He's like Seth Rollins.
So we come out of this match and we're going straight into the main event. So I want to talk about the Money in the Bank for a second, because now I'm a huge LA Knight fan. I've been an LA Knight fan since he was Eli Drake in Impact, and also being Eli Drake through the NWA. I was not a fan of the Max Models thing because I knew what the guy could do, and I knew they were wasting him. Now they're not wasting him, but I have to bring up the fact that LA Knight should have won the Money in the Bank. Now, the LA Knight winning the Money in the Bank, Damian Priest having the Money in the Bank makes zero sense to me, because I can't imagine him winning the world title. And I think that it was a waste, because really, LA Knight doesn't deserve this match with Roman Reigns. Now, hear me out. I'm a fan of LA Knight. I realize he's getting cheers. Who has he beat? For the longest time, he was getting beat every time he came out. Just recently, when all of a sudden the crowd is behind him, we see him getting some victories, but not victories that lead him to a number one contendership. So really, if this match were to make sense, he would be cashing in his Money in the Bank for a shot at Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. Now that would make sense. The fact that he has this match makes zero sense whatsoever. And since we were talking about Damian Priest and him having the Money in the Bank right there, I had to bring it up that this match doesn't make sense because you didn't make the right decision at Money in the Bank. But yet we go into this match, and I was really proud of LA Knight. LA Knight really came to prove himself. He came to show what he could do, and we really seen the best of him. And Roman Reigns, of course, showed up to that party too to help us see the best of LA Knight. I was excited to see what he was going to do. I never thought he was going to win. I didn't want him to win. It's not time for him to win. And with a star like LA Knight, if you pull the trigger too early, you're going to ruin it. It has to be the slow build. And I'm glad that someone saw that and didn't just pull the trigger because of 4 good months of t-shirt sales.
Well, and being the most over, he's more over than Cody Rhodes right now.
He's over.
I think that this is like special credit. He's meteorically risen in such a short amount of time. Obviously, we're going to have to talk about it. We know that Roman Reigns ain't doing no jobs until WrestleMania. No. He got me at the with Drew McIntyre at the Castle. It's like, oh shit, Drew might win. There was no chance of LA Knight winning, but the fact that he's there, I think they know. Here's the problem. What you're talking about is completely right. He's only been big over for, however many months it's been. Dude's 40. They don't want another AJ situation. They got to get out of him what they can get out of him while they can. Now he's in fucking top shape. He's still 40. That hairline ain't what it used to be. I think they're trying to get as much out of him as they can and see how far his charisma, or Riz, as the kids say today, can push him to that. Can he get to that next to that next level? And I think that's what this was. I think this was a tryout match for, because remember, man, people used to dance to Fandango. Now, obviously, LA Knight's better than Fandango, but there's been people that were over for a little bit. People used to chant "Feed Me More" with Ryback. I know that us IWCs don't want to admit that, but he was big over for a long time. So I think of it as more of him auditioning for the job, and I think he aced the job application.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And of course, seeing, the trickery at the end that kept Roman as the champion, that's what you're going to see. The folks that are online that are like, we're sick of Roman, they made a mistake, blah blah. You don't understand wrestling, and you don't understand the goals.
Alum, preach it.
You don't understand where we're going, and where we're going is somewhere of greatness. You know, Roman Reigns has to beat Hulk Hogan's reign. That's what we didn't come this far to only go this far. You have to stay committed, just like Roman has to stay committed, just like the WWE has to stay committed to Roman getting this accolade. And for those of you who don't want Roman to get it, you don't understand wrestling either. And you don't understand why this guy has to be the guy to do this. Just like you said about LA Knight, they're trying to get the most out of a 40-year-old man. Well, Roman Reigns is no spring chicken, and he's a cancer survivor. They're trying to get the most out of this man, and honestly, they've gotten more than I think anyone ever thought they would get out of a cancer survivor. And here we are seeing him about to, I mean, he's already made history, and it's time for him to finish it off. We know he'll never beat Bruno. We know he'll never beat Bob Backlund, but we're almost there for him beating Hogan. And with us being almost there with him beating Hogan, we can't just give it up and ruin LA Knight in the process. And that's what we were going to do.
Well,
if we would have went that way.
Those wrestling fans that don't like Roman Reigns or, call people E-drones are just mad that girls like him. That's the fucking main problem, because girls don't like those guys.
So you're saying it's an incel thing?
Absolutely. AEW incels are the fucking worst. And if I hear E-drone one more time, I'm like, look, man, I don't think, and I'm glad you brought it up. I think you set me up, actually. That's how we do it around here at the House of Kayfabe. I don't think enough is being said about Roman Reigns as I'm pretty sure 2-time blood cancer survivor, and is operating under these circumstances. You know what I mean? Like, I think because he looks virile and he never looked like a cancer patient to us, I think people forget this motherfucker had leukemia. And bounced and kicked out, I'm pretty sure twice, because I think he had a bout in between being a football player and signing with the WWE.
Absolutely, he did.
Okay, so this guy, like, as much as we're not giving Seth Rollins his credit, we are not giving, and I mean, how can you not say that Roman Reigns is not getting the credit that he deserves, because he's the biggest thing in the fucking in the whole sport. But the fact that this man beat cancer twice. This man has done chemotherapy, and this motherfucker comes out and has, in my opinion, you've heard it on here before. If you watch, he has mastered the art of the WWE style main event match, and he can never go back. Like how John Cena can now go back and have the mid card stuff. I don't think Roman Reigns is ever going to be the guy that comes and has Austin Theory, an up-and-coming mid-carder in the middle of the WrestleMania card. He's like Hogan status. If Hogan comes back, he's not going to have anything but the main event. Does you know what I mean?
I agree with you 100%. We started this conversation by saying, who did LA Knight beat? Who did LA Knight beat to be here? And there's no real answer to that question. But when you say, who did Roman Reigns beat to be here? Fucking cancer. That's who he beat, and he beat it twice, and he's still on top, and we've got to push him to that right under Bob Backlund position, because it's the realistic number one. Now, when you talk about Bruno, of course, Bruno's number one, and of course, Bob Backlund's number two. Those reigns aren't realistic. Not in 2023. You're not going to see a reign like that. As good as this bloodline story has been, I would welcome it, though. That is how good that storyline has been. So
8 years, the longer than The Wire is what you're asking for.
That's what I'm asking for.
The Simpsons style would be like Simpsons long wrestling run.
Right. And I'm not saying that that's what I want, but I would be okay with it. And I'm damn sure okay with him making it to WrestleMania. And I'm really curious to see who he's going to defend that title against in January, when I am live at the Royal Rumble from Tropicana Field. I can't wait to see who his opponent will be, and I can't wait to see if we hear Cult of Personality come through those speakers. I'm pretty excited about that. I have my tickets officially.
Oh, you're going to Chicago?
No, it's not in Chicago.
I thought
Chicago
Survivor
Survivor
Series was in
Series.
Chicago.
That's Survivor Series. I'm
Oh
talking
wait,
about the Royal Rumble, and the
nah,
Royal
you're gonna
Rumble.
have you better get tickets to Chicago because if they're going to do it, they're going to do it there.
We'll see, but either way, Royal Rumble is going to be a great time, and I am on the floor at the Tropicana Field to see this event. It's a bucket lister for me because of course WrestleMania was on my bucket list. I cleared that out. WrestleMania 33. I may actually be going to WrestleMania 40 as well. But when I'm talking about the Royal Rumble being number two, it is number two. When it comes to big events, the Royal Rumble always excited me as a child. I've got my favorite Royal Rumbles, and I can't wait to be live for my very first Royal Rumble. I think Steve's went to a few.
Yeah, yes. Well, I'll
Yeah,
tell you
but
what,
I
Brian.
have not went to one.
Well, I was going to say, Brian, the Florida sunrise is slowly going away, and you are as dark as you've
Yes.
ever been. This is the darkest that Brian Resner's been in his whole life.
Yes, this is the darkest.
Let's wrap
I
this
am
up
sitting in the
before
dark. But you did get a really nice Florida sun, a sundown behind me. So
it does
that's
look like
an extra.
paradise.
That's an extra bonus. It is a very nice position over the city. However, we are the House of Kayfabe, and this is our review of WWE Blood Money, or as you call it, WWE Crown Jewel. And here we are talking about it once again, and we will of course talk more about the WWE LA Night and anything else that comes up right here at the House of Kayfabe.